Security alarm shrieked through the loading dock as Marcus Chen shoved the alien child behind a stack of cargo containers. His supervisor's voice crackled over the comm system, sharp and final. "Chen, step away from the cargo. That's a direct order." Marcus didn't move. The girl couldn't have been more than 7 in human years, her silver skin pale with fear, those enormous violet eyes locked on his face. She wore nothing but torn cloth, shivering in the cold bay air. Blood seeped from cuts on her arms where the restraints had bitten deep. "I said step away." "She's hurt," Marcus called back, not caring anymore. "She's a kid." The dock supervisor, Greg Hamilton, stormed down the metal stairs with 4 security officers behind him. Their hands rested on shock batons. Marcus had worked here 3 years without incident, moving freight for the Terran Commerce Guild. Good pay, solid benefits, all of it about to evaporate. "That's not a kid, that's cargo," Greg said. "Authorized diplomatic transport. You just committed a federal offense." The girl grabbed Marcus's sleeve. Her fingers trembled. She spoke in broken standard, her accent thick. "Please, they hurt me. Take me home." "See? She can talk," Marcus said. "This isn't cargo, Greg. This is trafficking. You don't know what you're talking about." Greg's face had gone red. The Zelkari Empire paid for secure transport. That creature is valuable property under interstellar trade law. Property. The word made Marcus's stomach turn. He'd seen the manifest codes. Class 7 organism. High-value exotic. The same designation they used for zoo animals and lab specimens. But this girl spoke. She pleaded. She bled red just like he did. "I'm taking her to authorities," Marcus said. "Real authorities. Not whatever bought-off officials signed those papers." Greg laughed without humor. "You're done, Chen. Fired. And when the Zelkari find out you interfered, you'll wish that's all you lost." The security team moved forward. Marcus calculated his options in half a second. 5 armed men. 1 exit behind him leading to the street. The girl weighed maybe 40 pounds. He ran. Boots hammered on metal behind him as Marcus burst through the emergency exit into Seattle's rain-soaked night. The girl clung to his neck, her breath quick and hot against his shoulder. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. "What's your name?" Marcus gasped as he sprinted down the alley. "Lyra," she whispered. "Hold on, Lyra. We're getting you somewhere safe." He had no idea where that was. He only knew he couldn't go back. His job was gone. His life was about to get very complicated. But when he'd looked into those terrified violet eyes, the choice had been simple. Some things mattered more than careers. Marcus's apartment was a 4th-floor walk-up in the cheap district, but it had a fire escape and 3 different exit routes. He'd chosen it for the rent, but now those features might save his life. Lyra sat on his worn couch, wrapped in his jacket, watching him pace. "They'll track my ID chip," Marcus muttered, pulling up his sleeve. "Every transit scanner, every store, every street camera." He grabbed a knife from the kitchen. "This is going to hurt." "Wait." Lyra's voice was stronger now, less afraid. She pointed at his forearm. "Let me." Her small hand pressed against his skin. Warmth flooded through his arm, then a sharp burning sensation. He bit back a yell as something pushed through his flesh. The ID chip popped out onto his palm, smoking slightly. The wound sealed behind it without a scar. Marcus stared. "How did you?" "My people heal," Lyra said simply. "We fix broken things." Before he could process that, his apartment door exploded inward. Not kicked, exploded. The frame shattered like someone had hit it with a breaching charge. 2 figures in black tactical gear rushed through, weapons raised. Marcus dove behind the couch, pulling Lyra with him. Energy rounds burned through the air where his head had been, scorching the wall. These weren't cargo company security. These were professionals. "The girl," one of them said in a cold voice. "Hand her over and you live." Marcus's hand found the crowbar he kept by the door for emergencies. Not much against energy weapons, but it was something. "Who sent you? Does it matter?" The second figure moved left, flanking. "You're already dead, human. You just don't know it yet." Lyra stood up before Marcus could stop her. Her violet eyes had gone dark, almost black. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees in an instant. "You will not hurt him," she said. The lead attacker laughed. "Kid, you're worth more than this entire city. Come quietly or..." Lyra raised one hand. The attacker's weapon crumpled like aluminum foil. He screamed as the metal wrapped around his arm. Crushing. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeter is... His partner fired, but the energy bolt bent in midair, deflecting into the ceiling. Plaster rained down. "I said you will not hurt him." Both attackers slammed into opposite walls hard enough to crack the plaster. They slumped to the floor, unconscious. Lyra swayed, her skin going almost transparent. Marcus caught her before she fell. "I'm not supposed to do that yet," she whispered. "Too young. Too weak. Father would be angry." "Your father?" Marcus carried her toward the fire escape. Sirens screamed closer now. "Lyra, who is your father?" She looked up at him with those ancient eyes in that child's face. "Theros Velkar, Emperor of Zelkar, ruler of 400 worlds." Marcus almost dropped her. The Zelkari Empire controlled half the known galaxy. Their emperor was the single most powerful being in civilized space, and Marcus had just kidnapped his daughter. "They said you were cargo," he managed. "Why would they..." "Enemies," Lyra said. "Father has many. They took me 3 cycles ago. Hurt me. Wanted to make him weak." She touched his face with one small hand. "But you saved me. You didn't know who I was. You just helped." Marcus's phone buzzed. "Unknown number," he answered. "Marcus Chen." The voice was female, calm, terrifyingly efficient. "My name is Agent Victoria Kane, Terran Security Bureau. We've been tracking the Zelkari situation for 72 hours. You have something that doesn't belong to you." "She's not cargo," Marcus said. "We know exactly who she is, and you've just painted a target on every human world in this sector." Kane's voice hardened. "The Zelkari fleet is already en route. 20 warships. Burn the girl to Memorial Park in 30 minutes. Bring the girl to Memorial Park in 30 minutes. Alone. Or this becomes an extinction event." The line went dead. Lyra's eyes had filled with tears. "I don't want anyone to die because of me. Let me go. I'll find my way home." Marcus looked at this child who could crush weapons and heal wounds, who'd been tortured and trafficked, who trusted him despite every reason not to. He thought about 20 warships, about his species caught between galactic powers. Well, he thought about the simple fact that she was a scared kid who needed help. "We're not giving up," he said. "We're going to that park, but we're going smart." Memorial Park sat empty under the streetlights, a deliberate clearing in Seattle's urban sprawl. Marcus approached from the north entrance, with Lyra's hand in his. Every instinct screamed trap, but he kept walking. Agent Kane stood alone near the fountain, wearing a gray suit that seemed designed to avoid attention. She was maybe 40, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. No visible weapons, but Marcus didn't believe that for a second. "Smart choice," Kane said. "The girl, please." "No." Marcus stopped 10 feet away. "Not until I know what happens to her." Kane's expression didn't change. "What happens is, we prevent a war. The Zelkari fleet arrives in 6 hours. If we don't have the Emperor's daughter ready to return, they start with orbital bombardment. Seattle first, then Portland, then every major city on the West Coast until we comply." "They wouldn't," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. "They absolutely would. The Zelkari don't negotiate. They don't compromise. Emperor Theros lost his daughter. He will burn worlds to get her back, and he'll sleep fine afterward." Kane took a step closer. "This isn't about right or wrong anymore. It's about millions of lives." Lyra pulled free from Marcus's hand and walked toward Kane. "I'll go. Tell them I'm ready." "Wait!" Marcus grabbed her shoulder. "Who took you? If enemies kidnapped you, giving yourself to random government agents seems..." The fountain exploded. Water and stone erupted as something massive landed in the center of the park. Not landed, teleported. A Zelkari warrior in full combat armor materialized, 8 feet tall, covered in black scales that shimmered with built-in shielding. Its eyes glowed orange behind the helmet. Kane's hand went to her hip, drawing a plasma pistol in one smooth motion. "Stand down. We have diplomatic." The warrior's arm cannon vaporized her mid-sentence. "Just gone." A scorch mark where Agent Kane had stood. Marcus threw himself over Lyra as the warrior's targeting system swung toward them. Energy bolts tore up the grass. Trees exploded into splinters. The warrior spoke in harsh Zelkari, its translator rendering the words in flat standard. "The traitor child dies here. The Emperor's weakness ends tonight." So Kane had been right about enemies, just wrong about which ones. Lyra pushed Marcus aside and stood. Her small body seemed to grow larger, more solid. The air around her crackled with purple energy. "You dare attack an heir of Velkar? You are no heir." The warrior fired again. "You are a mistake. The Emperor's human-loving sentiment made flesh. When you die, he will remember what it means to be Zelkare." The energy bolt struck Lyra's raised palm and stopped. Just stopped, hanging in the air like a frozen star. She closed her fist and the bolt compressed, shrinking to a marble of pure light. Then she threw it back. The warrior's shields flared and held. It laughed, a grinding, metallic sound. "Child's tricks. You haven't even finished your first metamorphosis. You're barely—" Marcus tackled it from behind. Stupid. Completely stupid. He weighed maybe 180 compared to the warrior's armored 600 pounds, but his shoulder hit the back of its knee joint, and years of weekend rugby gave him the angle. The warrior stumbled forward, off balance for just a second. Lyra's hand touched its chest plate. The armor screamed. Metal tore like paper as purple energy poured through every seam and joint. The warrior inside convulsed, its shields overloading in cascades of sparks. It collapsed backwards, smoke rising from the ruined suit. Marcus scrambled away, ears ringing. Is it dead? Stunned. Lyra swayed again, that translucent look returning. But more will come. The Crimson Talons want Father broken. They've been planning this for years. The Crimson Talons? Marcus had heard that name. Zelkari extremist faction. They'd bombed a human colony 3 years ago. Killed 5,000 people. The Empire had officially condemned them, but intelligence suggested they had support in the military. Lyra nodded weakly. They hate that Father made peace with humans, hate that he stopped the conquest campaigns. They think showing mercy makes us weak. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They took me to prove it. More shapes materialized around the park. Not just one warrior. 6, 10, 20 armored Zelkari soldiers forming a perfect perimeter. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. Lyra could barely stand. Kane was dead. They were surrounded by the galaxy's most lethal military force. A new figure teleported into the center of the circle. This one wore crimson armor marked with golden claws, commander rank. It removed its helmet, revealing a scarred reptilian face with cold amber eyes. Hello, little princess, the commander said. Your father should have let you die quietly. Instead, he sends his fleet, shows the whole galaxy how desperate he's become. Perfect. It raised one clawed hand. Kill the human. Bring me the girl's head. The warriors raised their weapons as one. Then the sky split open. A shaft of white light 50 feet wide hammered down from orbit, so bright Marcus had to close his eyes. The shockwave flattened grass and shattered windows for 3 blocks. When he could see again, a new figure stood between them and the Crimson Talons. 12 feet tall, armor like polished obsidian and silver, energy radiating from every inch of its body. The Emperor's crest blazed gold on its chest. Emperor Theros himself had arrived. The Emperor's voice shook the ground. Not loud, deeper than sound. It resonated in Marcus's bones, in his teeth, in the base of his skull. Pure authority made physical. You raise weapons against my blood. The Crimson Talon commander didn't flinch. Your blood is corrupted, Theros, tainted by sympathy for lesser species. We act to save the Empire from your weakness. Theros moved faster than anything that size should move. One moment he stood motionless. The next his hand had closed around the commander's throat, lifting him off the ground. You tortured my daughter. You stole her from her home. You made her bleed. We made you vulnerable, the commander choked out. The Empire needed to see that caring for others is suicide. That mercy is... Theros squeezed. The commander's armor crumpled like foil. He dropped the body and turned to the remaining warriors. Anyone else wish to lecture me on strength? 10 warriors teleported away immediately. The remaining 10 opened fire. Energy bolts converged on the Emperor from every angle. Enough firepower to level a city block. Theros raised both hands, and the air itself solidified, forming a barrier that caught every shot. The bolts hung suspended like fireflies, then reversed direction. 10 warriors died before they could scream. Silence fell over the park. Theros turned slowly, his glowing eyes sweeping across the destruction. They landed on Marcus. You, the Emperor walked forward. Each step left glowing footprints in the grass. You are the human who interfered with my daughter's transport. Marcus tried to speak. His throat had gone completely dry. He managed to nod. You cost yourself employment and safety. You made yourself an enemy of powerful forces. You did this knowing nothing of who she was or what benefit you might gain. Theros stopped 3 feet away, towering over him. Why? Because she's a kid, Marcus said. His voice came out steady despite the terror coursing through him. Because she was hurt and scared, that's all that mattered. Theros studied him for a long moment. Then he knelt, bringing his massive frame down to Marcus's level. Up close, the Emperor's face was scarred and ancient, with eyes that had seen centuries of war. But something else lived there too. Something that might have been respect. Most beings in this galaxy seek advantage. They calculate cost against benefit. They ask what rewards justify what risks. Theros placed one enormous hand on Marcus's shoulder. The weight should have crushed him, but the touch remained gentle. You asked none of these questions. You simply helped. This is rare. Father. Lyra stumbled forward, barely conscious. He saved me. Protected me. Don't hurt him. Theros caught his daughter with infinite care, cradling her against his armored chest. Hurt him? Child, I intend to honor him. He looked back at Marcus. The Crimson Talons will not forget this night. They will hunt you. Your government will question you. Your life as you knew it has ended. Yeah, Marcus said quietly. I figured. So I offer you a choice. Return to your world, where we will provide protection but you will forever live under threat. Or come with us to Zelkar. Serve in my household. Learn our ways. Become something more than you were. Marcus blinked. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you purpose. Theros stood, still holding Lyra. My daughter will need teachers who understand that compassion is not weakness. That mercy requires more courage than violence. You have proven you possess this understanding. I don't know anything about aliens. I moved cargo for a living. You knew enough to help when others walked past. You risked everything for a stranger. Theros' eyes seemed to look straight through him. That is the only qualification that matters. A Zelkari ship descended from the clouds, sleek and massive, its engines humming with barely restrained power, landing ramps extended like silver tongues. Marcus thought about his apartment with the hole blown through the door, about Greg Hamilton and the Terran Commerce Guild, about Agent Kane. Vaporized mid-sentence, about the simple fact that he'd made enemies of a terrorist faction that spanned star systems. He thought about Lyra's small hand in his, about those violet eyes, looking up with trust he hadn't earned but had been given anyway. If I say yes, can I come back? Visit Earth sometimes? Whenever you wish, Theros said. Though I suspect you'll find home feels different now. It always does once you've seen how large the universe truly is. Marcus took a breath. Let it out. Then I guess I need to pack. Theros actually smiled. It transformed his scarred face into something almost warm. Your possessions will be retrieved. Right now, medical staff need to examine my daughter. And you need treatment for about 6 different injuries you haven't noticed yet because of adrenaline. Marcus looked down. His shirt was torn and bloody. His left arm hung at a weird angle. He'd been running on pure terror and determination. Now that Theros mentioned it, everything hurt. "Yeah," he said faintly. "Medical sounds good." 2 Zelkari medics emerged from the ship, carrying equipment that hummed with soft blue light. They guided Marcus up the ramp with surprising gentleness. Lyra reached out from her father's arms as they passed, touching Marcus's hand. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me." The ship lifted off, leaving scorched earth and bodies behind. Through the viewport, Marcus watched Seattle shrink below. Somewhere down there his old life waited, his routines and habits and the comfortable smallness of familiar things. He didn't look back for long. The Zelkari Imperial Palace floated above the planet's surface, a structure of crystalline spires and flowing metal that defied human physics. Marcus had been there 3 weeks and still couldn't figure out how the architecture worked. Gravity shifted between corridors. Rooms existed in spaces that shouldn't fit. His quarters were larger than his entire apartment building back on Earth. He hated every second of it. Not the luxury, not the alien technology, the politics. The endless parade of nobles and advisors who looked at him like he was a pet the Emperor had brought home. The whispered conversations that stopped when he entered rooms, the careful smiles that never reached anyone's eyes. Lyra was the only thing keeping him sane. She'd recovered quickly, her natural healing closing the wounds the Crimson Talons had inflicted. Now she shadowed Marcus through the palace, asking endless questions about Earth, what humans ate, how they celebrated, why they couldn't heal themselves or crush metal with their minds. "It's not fair," she said one morning as they walked through the meditation gardens. "You saved me, but you can't even fix a broken bone without machines." "Different species, different abilities," Marcus said. He'd learned to navigate the floating pathways now, stepping from stone to stone as they drifted in lazy orbits. "Humans aren't physically powerful. We adapt. We build tools. We cooperate. Father says cooperation is your greatest strength." Lyra hopped between 3 stones at once, showing off. "He says humans conquered your world not through individual power, but by working together towards shared goals. Your father talks about humans a lot? He studies all species under Imperial protection. Says understanding others prevents unnecessary conflict." She landed beside him. "The Crimson Talons think that's weakness. They think the Empire should dominate, not negotiate." Marcus had learned more about galactic politics in 3 weeks than he'd absorbed in his entire life on Earth. The Zelkari Empire had expanded for 5,000 years through military conquest. Then, 200 years ago, Theros had taken power and changed everything, stopped the invasions, established trade agreements, offered protection instead of subjugation. Half the Empire loved him for it. The other half wanted him dead. "Marcus," a new voice interrupted his thoughts. High Commander Vex stood at the garden entrance, his silver scales marking him as one of the Emperor's inner circle. "The Emperor requests your presence." Immediately, the throne room stretched a 1/4 mile long, lined with guards in ceremonial armor. Theros sat on a seat carved from a single massive gemstone that pulsed with inner light. Beside him stood a human woman Marcus didn't recognize. Blonde hair, military bearing, cold blue eyes that assessed him in one glance. "Marcus Chen," Theros said. "This is Colonel Amanda Price, Terran Defense Force. She brings troubling news." Price stepped forward. "Mr. Chen, in the 3 weeks since your departure, 17 human colonies have reported Crimson Talon activity, weapons smuggling, recruitment efforts. Yesterday they bombed a medical station on Titan, 43 dead." Marcus's stomach dropped. "What does that have to do with me?" "Everything." Price pulled up a holographic display. Images flickered to life showing Crimson Talon propaganda, and there, in every piece, was Marcus's face. "They're using you as proof that humans corrupt Zelkari values, that the Emperor cares more for one human than for his own people's traditions. You've become a symbol. A symbol of what? Everything they hate." Theros rose from his throne. Even here, in his own palace, his presence commanded absolute attention. "They paint you as the human who stole my daughter, who manipulated Imperial gratitude into personal advancement, who represents the weakness they claim I've embraced." "That's insane." "I didn't manipulate anything. I helped a kid. Truth is irrelevant to fanatics. Price's expression remained neutral, but Marcus caught the tension in her shoulders. Earth's government has requested your return. They believe your presence here escalates tensions and puts human populations at risk. Marcus looked at Theros. Is that true? Am I making things worse? The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Your presence has accelerated existing conflicts. The Crimson Talons were always going to strike. You simply gave them convenient justification. He moved down from the throne, his footsteps echoing. But Colonel Price is correct about the danger. Every human colony now represents a potential target. The Talons will use civilian casualties to prove their point. So I go back, Marcus said. Remove the symbol. Remove the justification. No. Lyra's voice rang out from the entrance. She strode in, flanked by 2 guards, who looked embarrassed at failing to stop her. You can't leave. You're my teacher. Father promised. Lyra, this is not, Theros began. You said Marcus understands what strength really means, that he could teach me things no Zelkari can. She turned to Marcus. Those violet eyes fierce. The Crimson Talons want you gone because you're right and they're wrong. Sending you away means they win. Price's jaw tightened. Princess, with respect, this isn't about winning or losing. It's about preventing a body count that... The palace shook. Not an earthquake, an explosion. Alarms shrieked through the corridors. Guards rushed toward the throne room as emergency barriers slammed down over windows. Theros' eyes blazed gold as information flooded his neural implants. Crimson Talons, he said, inside the palace. They teleported past the shields using stolen Imperial codes. His head snapped toward Lyra. They're coming for you. Marcus grabbed Lyra's hand without thinking. His other hand found the plasma pistol Theros had given him for ceremonial purposes. He'd never fired it, barely knew which end pointed forward. Didn't matter. The throne room doors exploded inward and warriors in crimson armor poured through. Theros moved like a force of nature. The first 3 warriors died before Marcus registered movement. Armor crumpled, bodies flew. The Emperor's roar shook dust from the ancient ceiling. But there were too many. 20 warriors. 30. They kept teleporting in, overwhelming through numbers. Colonel Price had her sidearm out, firing with military precision. Guards converged from side corridors. The throne room became a war zone of energy bolts and screaming metal. Marcus ran. Not away. Toward the service passage Lyra had shown him last week. The one the nobles didn't know about, because only servants used it. He pulled her behind a falling pillar as a blast carved through where they'd stood. His hands shook, but he kept moving. We need to get you somewhere safe, he gasped. Nowhere is safe. Lyra's face had gone pale. They have the codes. They can teleport anywhere in the palace. Then we don't hide. We end this. Marcus's brain worked like it had in the loading dock. Calculate options. Find the angle. He'd spent 3 weeks wandering this palace, asking questions, learning systems. The Zelkari built everything with redundancy. Multiple power sources, multiple shield generators, multiple throne rooms. The old palace section, Marcus said, where your ancestors ruled before the expansion. Can you teleport us there? Lyra nodded. She grabbed his arm and the world twisted. Marcus's stomach lurched as reality bent around them. They materialized in a dusty chamber that smelled of age and disuse. Ancient throne, cracked walls, but intact systems still glowing with faint power. Why here? Lyra asked. Because this room has something the new one doesn't. Marcus ran to the communications console. Direct hardline connection to the Imperial fleet. No wireless. No codes to steal. They'd have to physically cut the cable to stop transmission. He activated the system with shaking hands. Lights flickered to life across the console. I need you to call every ship in orbit, every captain loyal to your father. Tell them Crimson Talons are inside the palace, and the Emperor needs immediate extraction and support. They won't listen to me. You're the heir to 400 worlds. Marcus gripped her shoulders. You're Lyra Velkar, daughter of Theros. You saved me in my apartment. You can do this. Lyra straightened, took a breath. When she spoke into the comm system, her voice carried absolute authority. This is Princess Lyra Velkar. Crimson Talons have breached palace security. All loyal forces converge on the throne room. Authorization code Velkar 97. Protect the Emperor. The response was immediate. Ship captains acknowledging. Teleport signatures lighting up across the palace as loyal troops materialized. The tide was turning. Then the old throne room doors exploded. A single warrior entered. Not crimson armor, black. Elite assassination unit. It moved with terrifying grace, weapons trained on Lyra. Nice try, Princess. But you just told us exactly where you are. Marcus stepped between them and fired his plasma pistol. The shot went wide, scorching the wall. The warrior laughed and raised its cannon. Marcus threw the pistol at its face. Stupid. Desperate. But the warrior flinched, tracking the projectile. In that half-second, Lyra's hand shot forward. Purple energy wrapped around the warrior's armor like living chains. Metal groaned. Shield sparked and failed. I'm done being afraid of you, Lyra said. Her voice had gone cold. I'm done being the weakness you think I am. The warrior strained against the energy bonds. You're still just a child. You can't... Lyra clenched her fist. The armor compressed, crumpling inward. The warrior inside screamed once, then went silent. She released the energy and the broken shell clattered to the floor. Marcus stared. Lyra, are you... I'm tired of people hurting others because they think kindness is weakness. Her hands still glowed with purple light. You showed me that helping someone cost everything and is still worth doing. That's not weakness. That's the hardest kind of strength. Footsteps echoed in the corridor, but these were friendly. Theros burst through the doorway, followed by Price and a squad of Imperial guards. The Emperor's armor was scorched and dented, but his eyes blazed with relief. Lyra, Marcus. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled his daughter into an embrace. The Talons are routed. Their leadership is dead or captured. It's over. Because of Marcus, Lyra said. He knew about the old throne room. Knew how to call for help. Theros looked at Marcus with something beyond respect. Something like understanding. You keep saving what I love most. I'm beginning to think you're more valuable than an entire battalion. I just moved cargo, Marcus said weakly. The adrenaline was fading. His legs felt like water. You moved my daughter from danger to safety. Twice. Theros placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. You used knowledge and quick thinking instead of power. Very human. Very effective. Colonel Price holstered her weapon. Mr. Chen, I'll be reporting to Earth that you're a strategic asset, not a liability. The Crimson Talons didn't escalate because of you. They escalated because they're losing. Because everything you represent terrifies them. What do I represent? Change. Price actually smiled. The idea that different species can work together. That strength comes in many forms. That the future doesn't have to look like the past. Theros nodded slowly. The Crimson Talons wanted to prove that caring for others makes us weak. Instead, you proved the opposite. A human with no combat training just helped save the Imperial throne through courage and compassion. And by throwing a pistol at someone's head, Marcus added. Lyra laughed. Actually laughed. The sound filled the ancient throne room with something it probably hadn't heard in centuries. Joy. So what happens now? Marcus asked. Now we rebuild, Theros said. We root out the remaining Talon cells. We strengthen bonds between species. We prove that cooperation creates something stronger than conquest ever could. He looked at Marcus. And you continue teaching my daughter that power without compassion is just violence with better PR. Marcus thought about his apartment in Seattle. His old job moving cargo. The small, safe life he'd left behind. It felt like decades ago instead of weeks. I can do that, he said. Lyra grabbed his hand. And I'll teach you how to actually aim that pistol. Your shooting is terrible. Deal. They left the old throne room together, stepping into a palace that had survived another attempt to drag it backward. Outside, Through crystalline windows, the Zelkeri fleet hung in perfect formation. Ships from 100 worlds, united under one banner. Marcus had lost his job helping an alien girl. He'd gained a purpose, helping change a galaxy.